History remembers her as the unshakable monarch, stoic, composed, untouchable. But behind the velvet and protocol, Queen Elizabeth II carried a secret no one ever knew, not even her closest confidants. What you're about to hear is a fictionalized excerpt from her private diary, a personal confession of a love that defied duty and a moment that nearly broke the woman behind the crown. This is The Winter Rose, a story of longing, sacrifice, and silence. They say a sovereign must never cry. But no one warned me what to do when the soul weeps in silence, when the heart, though sovereign, cracks quietly beneath the crown. I write this now, many years too late, with trembling fingers and an ache I have nursed in silence through decades of ceremony, speeches, and state. You will not find this story in any archive, not in Windsor's library, nor in the whispers of my biographers. This page was mine alone, until now. It began in the winter of 1960. I was 4 years into my reign, and the world still called me young. Britain was bracing itself for another bitter season, and I, for reasons I could not explain, was restless in spirit. The palace had grown colder than usual, despite the roaring fireplaces and crimson drapery. Philip was away again, inspecting naval operations in Malta. Margaret was spiraling through another heartbreak, and I found myself drifting into corridors of memory, ones I should not have entered. Then came him. He was not a duke, nor a lord, nor a man one would expect to find within the polished walls of Buckingham Palace. His name was Thomas Eden, a horticulturist of all things, sent to consult on the dying roses in the Royal Conservatory. A temporary appointment, no more than 6 weeks. His hands bore dirt under the fingernails, his shoes were scuffed, but his eyes, they saw straight through the layers of duty I wore like armor. We spoke first of botany, then of Shakespeare, then of nothing in particular. He told me of frostbite and seedlings, how some things must die before they bloom. He never bowed too low, nor looked too long, which made me notice him more. I was queen, but in his presence I felt like Elizabeth. It was improper, and it was innocent, until it wasn't. There was a morning, a gray December one, when I slipped away from the schedule, from the red dispatch boxes, from my private secretary's watchful gaze. I wandered, shawled and slippered, down to the conservatory. The roses had died, all save one, a white bloom, defiant in the cold. He called it the winter rose. He had coaxed it back from near death through warmth, patience, and a touch of defiance. Some things live, he said, because they refuse to follow the rules. That was the first time he touched my hand. We never kissed. That is the tragedy and the mercy of it. We never dared. But in those small, stolen conversations, in that shared understanding, I tasted a kind of forbidden freedom. I wondered only once what it might be like to love as a woman and not as a monarch. It was Margaret who saw it first. Not the act, there was none, but the change in me. She said I smiled more, smiled less, drifted more, grounded less. "You're haunting yourself," she whispered one night, vodka in hand. "You're trying to be human in a role that demands you be marble." The scandal, had it broken, would have ruined everything. The tabloids would have spun fantasies from the scraps of truth. The crown would have suffered, and Thomas, he would have been devoured. So I ended it. I summoned him under the pretense of commendation. I thanked him for his service. I said the conservatory was to be closed for renovations. He understood. He did not protest. But before he turned to leave, he reached into his coat and handed me a single cutting from the winter rose. "I grew this for you," he said simply. "Even if you never plant it, you'll know it existed. I kept it, pressed between the pages of my father's Bible, hidden in the back where no one looks. It is browned with age, but it is not crumbled. Much like myself. Years passed. I learned to fold the ache into my posture, to carry the weight with grace. I watched my children grow, my nation change, my face harden into history. But on particularly bitter mornings, when the fog rolled thick over Windsor's lawns, I would walk to the conservatory, long since refurbished, and look at the roses. Never once did I see another white one bloom in winter.